Welcome back. We've been discussing the latest COVID-19 vaccine guidance in the wake of the public health emergency. And with us is Dr. Charlene Wong, and she is a wealth of information. And I appreciate you hanging for the whole show because I got lots to talk to you about yet. Let's start with the kids because all of us have this love for our kids. We want to make sure they're protected. Now they're out on summer vacation. Eventually they'll be going back to school. So is this becoming seasonal? Can we let up a little bit in summer or still continue, at 100 miles per hour? What's going on?
As a mom myself, what we all want is for our kids to be able to have a great summer, right? Play with their friends, hang with family, maybe go to summer camp. And the best way to do that, both in the summer and make sure they're safe and ready for back to school.
Is, I could say it, get the vaccine, I could, but I wouldn't want to.
And a couple other things, right? We want to make sure kids get their COVID-19 vaccines as we're in the summer and getting ready for back to school later in the summer. Great time to make sure kids get their annual checkups, stay up to date on their other vaccines. And like any good pediatrician, I couldn't mention a couple other things for parents and families to remember in the summer. 1, make sure you're using sunscreen. 2, make sure kids are drinking plenty of water. The temperature is already getting really hot. And 3, especially for our younger children, keep them safe when they're around swimming pools and other bodies of water. But certainly it does seem like we're seeing more of that seasonal pattern, and so particularly important as kids are getting back to school. That's a great time to check off all those things, COVID vaccines and checkups.
Now, as a pediatrician, you've seen the evolution of this, right? And I get it. It was very scary, so we did a lot of things. But now a lot of things maybe we don't have to do. And what I mean by that is, now they're going back to school. There was a time they had masks and they had to stay 6 feet apart and all this other stuff, Zooms and what have you. They'll be going back to school in a few months. What do they need to do? What do parents need to do?
The most important thing is to make sure that they're up to date on the COVID-19 vaccines and really talking with your healthcare provider if there are other things that you're concerned about or have questions about for your child specifically.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's talk about Medicaid expansion.
Let's.
And I know that's very important for a lot of people. So what's happened with that? Early on in the COVID emergency, there was money everywhere. Right, yeah. And that's starting to dwindle now in a lot of ways. Is it impacting the Medicaid program?
So I think the thing that we are so excited about at the state is the fact that Governor Cooper signed Medicaid expansion on March 27th. This is a momentous agreement that is going to bring better health, care, and well-being to over 600,000 people in North Carolina. A couple things to know about Medicaid expansion and sort of as it relates to the stuff we've been talking about in COVID. So we have 2 things happening sort of at the same time in North Carolina. Both we have this amazing opportunity with Medicaid expansion that's going to bring this better health care to folks. We also have the end of the continuous coverage, which we know that people in North Carolina might be hearing about both of these things at the same time. Let me just break down the 2.
Okay.
So the end of the continuous coverage sort of came along with the end of the public health emergency. Because what happened is during COVID, people who got their health insurance through Medicaid, they weren't going through the yearly check to see if they were still eligible for that Medicaid health insurance coverage. Well, because the public health emergency ended, that's no longer the way we're doing it. So we're restarting those annual checks. And so there are a couple things people need to do. 3 very important things people need to do around that. Thing 1 is make sure that your contact information is up to date for Medicaid, as well as any other benefits you might have, like WIC or FNS and food stamps. And the reason you want to make sure your contact info is up to date is because you need to be on the lookout, number 2, for things that might be coming to you in the mail, phone call, text message, email. And they might be asking you to do things like fill out a new form, update some information. So number 3 thing to do is to make sure to respond by any deadlines that you see in any of these materials you're receiving, because that's part of that end of the continuous coverage. That's thing 1. Then number 2 is the Medicaid expansion and this wonderful opportunity we have. This is going to be available to, if you're a single adult, people making up to about $20,000 a year. Or for, say, a family of 3, it's about up to $34,000 a year. And these are benefits that will become available after our state budget is fully signed, which we hope will happen in the next couple of months.
All right, there will be a test. No, it is important too, because things cost more. Times are getting tough on one area, so this is important. Your health most definitely is. Let me ask you this. We've talked about a lot of things. Is there anything we've missed from your perspective? Some important, I know, get the vaccine, but beyond that, just the overall health of the family, and I mean, and that even takes in mental health. We've been through a lot with the COVID. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, when it comes to mental health, there's, no question that we were already starting to see a rise and a crisis in mental health for children, adults, families before COVID. That has really gotten a lot worse during COVID. And there's a lot more that we need in our state so that we can better meet the mental health needs of people in the state, and importantly, try to prevent, some of these mental health emergencies and crises that we're seeing happen for children and families and adults all across the state. A couple things to hit on, just as you asked, like what sorts of things are really important to think about staying healthy, staying safe. One, in addition to getting those COVID-19 vaccines, is to make sure that everyone in the family is staying up to date on those annual checkups. Those are the places where we screen for mental health issues. We screen for things like high blood pressure and do labs and help manage any medications that folks are on. So that's really important for every single North Carolinian, is make sure you've got a doctor that's, a healthcare provider, that's your usual place you go, and make sure you go for those annual checkups. And then the second thing is to really, again, keep those COVID-19 vaccines up to date, have the test available, get treatment if you need it.
Doctor, what a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. We hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you have any questions or you'd like to know more, visit our website at RaleighCW.com and myrdctv.com. I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters, and we'll see you next week.